This peaceful spot along the Delaware River was once the site of Lenni Lenape Village. The area was known as Shakamaxon. Before the Dutch, Swedes, and English, Native Americans gathered to fish and hold council fires here. The Delaware River and the streams along its path provide an easy means of travel for tribes to assemble.
Archaeological evidence recently discovered indicates that as far back as 1500 BC, the area was inhabited by Native Americans. Many hundreds of years later, Native Americans still gather at this special place to celebrate their reverence for nature, peace, and love.
It is near this land that tradition holds that William Penn and the Native Americans made a treaty of friendship under the Great Elm in 1682. Penn stayed on the land at the home of Thomas Fairman, 600 feet upriver. He loved the area and wanted to purchase the house. Penn wrote, "It is a perfect place for a governor to see the city but have the quiet of the country."
The story of the land, however, does not end with William Penn. During the Revolutionary War, the British built a fort on this site during the occupation of Philadelphia in 1777. John Simcoe, the commander of the Queen's Rangers, ultimately played an important part in the locale.
Simcoe was a fervent loyalist. He believed that rebel Americans would love the British king if only they were not so far away from the monarch. Simcoe arrived in Boston in 1775 and took part in the siege of the city. He later fought in the Battle of Long Island, where he stayed in Oyster Bay at the home of Samuel Townsend. Townsend, an American patriot, fled his home for fear of capture by the British. His wife and daughter stayed behind.
Simcoe and Townsend's young daughter Sally became romantically involved. It is believed, however, that the match came to an end when Sally overheard Simcoe discussing Benedict Arnold's treasonous plot to turn over the fort at West Point to the British. Sally got word to her brother Robert, a member of the American spy network known as the Culper Spy Ring, who told George Washington of the plan in the nick of time. Sally's secret prevented her from marrying Simcoe because she knew that she would always have to conceal from him what she had done. Several years later, Simcoe wrote Sally a letter on February 14, 1779. It began, "Fairest maid, where all is fair, beauty's pride and nature's care, to you my heart I must resign, oh choose me for your Valentine." This was the first Valentine written in America and is preserved at the Rainin Museum at Townsend's former home in Oyster Bay.
Simcoe left Oyster Bay, fought in the Battle of Perth Amboy, and was captured. His release orders were signed by Benjamin Franklin as part of a prisoner exchange. According to some accounts, Simcoe is credited for saving the life of George Washington when the British routed the Americans at the Battle of Brandywine. Simcoe refused to allow shots to be fired in the backs of 3 fleeing Americans. One of these Americans was George Washington. The Queen's Rangers, under the command of Simcoe, were part of General Howe's army. They built a fort along the Delaware near the old Shakamaxon Indian village in Kensington, on the road to Frankfort. Unlike most British soldiers, who wore redcoats, the Queen's Rangers wore green as camouflage. It is claimed that they never lost a battle against Americans.
After the war, Simcoe went to Canada, where he was lieutenant governor. He was also a founder of Toronto. He is honored every year on Simcoe Day, a holiday held on the first Monday in August.
It is, however, Simcoe's stay on the land of the former Lenni Lenape Indian village of Shakamaxon that he has left his legacy. In 1777, this area was heavily wooded with only a few homes and farms. The British felled trees in the area to prevent the Americans from shooting at them, to build the fort, and improve the roads.
The fort was located about 600 feet from the Great Elm Tree, where 94 years before, William Penn made his treaty of friendship with the Indians. Simcoe knew about the tree from the Benjamin West painting, Penn's Treaty with the Indians. The painting had an international reputation and prints had circulated throughout England and Europe. Simcoe became the tree's guardian angel. In the words of Benjamin West, who was told by Simcoe, he sent a detachment of guards to protect the elm from the axe, for fear that someone would cut it for wood.
This remarkable site along the Delaware River is a fundamental part of the American story. The Lenni Lenape believe that we are caretakers who only use the land. We do not own it. Perhaps this is a part of our earth that is meant to belong to all of us, as a lasting tribute to friendship, peace, and patriotism.